7th, 2025 at 6:04, and I'm going to call the Curriculum Committee meeting to order. In attendance as of now is Dr. Andrea Ackerman, myself, Adrian Johnson, Melissa Manzione, I'm sorry, and Anne-Marie Mancini. Our first thing, do you want to try muting? Oh, you got it. All right, thanks. All right. Well, all right. Sorry. All right. So our first order of business is to review the March 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes. It says 2024, so we'll make that next month's meeting. We'll fix that. Make a motion to approve the meeting. All right. Second, and one clarification I was going to say is where it talks about issuing credits at the end of the year, it says they are now issuing them at the end of the semester. Should that say, I was just wondering, maybe partial credits or something like that, just so people don't have to watch the meeting to understand that?
Yeah, we can say that. Certainly, I'm going to make that revision. And it's not going to start until next year, so I'll clarify that as well.
All right. Yeah, I'm just thinking, because if somebody, really all it's doing is if you signed up for a one credit class, you'll have the possibility of getting a half a credit.
Right.
So just a little clarification on that. So we can, all right. So I will make a motion to approve with the slight modifications. All right. We're approving the minutes. All right. Moving on. And now Mike Whitney has also joined us. So. All right. Melissa, I will hand it over to you on financial literacy.
Thank you. So Governor Lamont finally approved the mandated personal finance course in July of 23. So students are required to take a half a credit in personal finance management as part of their graduation requirements, starting with this year's 9th grade class, the graduating class of 2027. So this just, I gave you a little bit about the Public Act, what it requires. It's preparing students for success in college, career, and civic life, how to navigate the complex consumer economy of the 21st century skills. Personal finance cannot be considered a cluster or a pathway. It's not its own thing. It's part of a bigger picture of business. So you can't just, because I don't know, are you familiar that the high school is creating pathways?
Shoot, I'm sorry.
We have, so we're having like a culinary pathway and a business pathway or a CNA pathway. This cannot be its own pathway. It's part of a pathway. So it's just a half a credit. And it could be listed, they're saying, under the business pathway, finance, or marketing pathway. But now all 9th graders have to take it. So it's just a requirement. But if we're going to include it in a pathway, it could be one of those pathways.
Are there options to personal finance? So do you have to take this class, or is there a different business option that students have? This is it?
This is the required class.
So every student will have this class?
Yes.
All right.
Every student, starting with all our 9th graders. Yeah.
All right.
And this past year, we had an influx of 9th graders taking this elective. And good or bad, I don't think 9th graders have enough life experience to understand fully what this course offers. But that's my opinion. There's certainly 9th graders capable of doing well in the course, but I just think they haven't lived enough to understand, like, pay stubs. They haven't really received a pay stub yet to understand how to read it and, like, what it means, or to how to apply for a loan. But we'll get there, or just ask.
Yeah.
but it's grades 9 through 12 take this class.
All right.
Same class, same curriculum. So this has been a question on everyone's mind. Who can actually provide instruction now that it's a required course? I highlighted the two teachers that will be providing it starting next year. It's always been in the business education department. Next year, because we have so many students taking it, we had to farm out, I think it's 4 sections of personal finance to our math teacher. I believe it's a part-time math teacher. I think that's what the rumor is. I was showing enrollment. I also made a visual. I don't know if it's going to be easier, but year over year, we have a few iterations. We have a personal finance and an honors personal finance. The honors paper was created because of students who they're worried more about their GPA. They want to get that little boost in the GPA, so that's why the honors was created. But year over year, from 21 to 22 to 20, it was an 18% increase, 37. It dipped a year, but this year we saw 48% increase in personal finance 1. Personal finance 2 had a huge jump, almost 130%. Honors Personal Finance 2 is the second year that they could take the course, and that's when they could actually work at the bank, the Charter Oak Branch Bank in school. They also do a lot more. They'll actually go on field trips where they go to the auto or car dealership, and they're shown how to look at a car, how to actually sign the paperwork for a lease to buy a car. Then they'll go to an apartment complex to see what it is to lease an apartment. Our current teacher, Deb Jenkins, is she does a fantastic job with the class. She'll take them actually to the Shack, the restaurant, and she shows them how to have a business breakfast, like, proper etiquette while you're doing all this. So it goes beyond learning about pay stubs and insurance. Like, she's teaching them life skills. But that's personal finance too. So everyone has personal finance ones. It's standard curriculum. And I'll show you, there's a canned curriculum now put out by the state. So let me just digress a little. Back in 2022, the state of Connecticut adopted the standards from MBA Research Standards. It's a not-for-profit company that the state has contracted with. They have written the standards for business management, finance, and marketing. This is where it kind of gets a little confusing. So we've also adopted the Next Gen Personal Finance curricula, which the state has given for free to all schools in Connecticut. It's curriculum in a box, basically. So it's broken out by sections, I think it's by months or by weeks, and it has lesson plans, activities, quizzes. It's everything you could possibly want for curriculum. Within the Next Gen curricula is Jumpstart, which has the learning outcomes. So there's a lot of names, there's a lot of players involved with personal finance. This is like the money grab this year. So Jumpstart is a coalition. They just want to further personal finance, make sure everyone is literate in financial ways, I guess. So they kind of go hand in hand. Jumpstart is the outcome, Next Gen is the curricula, and there's the performance indicators by MBA Research. So it's kind of, there's a lot of people involved, but here's the scope and sequence. They start off with basic economics, banking, investing. You can read the list. So they just step through. This down here, this courseware link, it's the open sourceware. That's what the state of Connecticut gives you. It's good, but it's the same thing, but this is, if you click on the Next Gen Personal Finance, this is where you see the lesson plans, the activities, the quizzes, the solutions to the questions. It's basically the open source, but it's on their platform. It's easier to read. It's much more user-friendly. So if there was a new teacher coming to the district and you're saying, this is what you'll be teaching, this is where I would send them, it's perfect. On the next page, you'll see just a snapshot of the curriculum. But if you wanted to click into it, you certainly can. It's laggy?
Yeah.
No problem. So it'll just show you, oh, here we go. This is Unit 1 about economics. I know it's kind of tiny, but we've got student activity packet, lesson guide with answer key. If the teacher uses Unipod or Prayer Deck, I don't use those. I don't know really what they are. I'm old school. But it takes you through your values and money, your brain and money, overcoming cognitive biases, and it just steps you through. So any incoming teacher could follow this and get a good feel for what it is, and it's standardized. All the schools in Connecticut have access to this. It's for free. It's very helpful, but then, you could also tweak it to make it your own. Perhaps a teacher had some banking experience, like I did when I was in college. I was a bank teller for all 4 years, and it helped me save money for school. And I have those experiences I can intertwine into my lessons. The next page will show you on-demand professional development for any teachers. Thank you. So the new teachers coming in, this is where I would send them for on-demand training. So it's taking you to Next Gen Personal Finance. The teacher could actually become certified, add that to their resume, so it just says that I've been through the Next Gen training. I'm now certified to teach this. I don't think we need to have our teachers certified, but it's certainly a resume builder. MBA Research offers different professional development throughout the year. I attended a PD out in Minnesota 2 years ago as the state advisor, because the state advisor couldn't make it. She called me up and I attended it on her behalf. It's a small conference, but they also write curriculum. We have access to the lesson plans and activity guides. It's all free because state of Connecticut owns or has a partnership with them. And the Federal Reserve, I know, offers some curricula. And the last two ones listed on the sheet here are agricultural related, so I've never even heard of them, I'll be honest. And then the last slide just says about our Perkins grant. So while Perkins can be used to pay for field trips, to pay for the busing, to pay for any entrance fee into like a museum or an activity, I could buy instructional supplies, site licenses if we buy any online curricula, subscriptions to magazines or newspapers we could buy, professional learning I could pay for. The catch is the teacher needs to be Perkins certified. So that math teacher would not be eligible to these fundings, but the business ed teacher would be eligible to this funding. And that's all I have. So I figured you have done research or have questions, so hit me.
What is the, so there's grant funding, what is Perkins?
So it's earmarked for all CTE, career and tech education programs. So that means right now at Fitch we have business, culinary, engineering, health science, manufacturing, and technology.
All right, and is that's a state fund?
It's a federal fund.
Oh, all right.
That goes through the state.
All right.
And then the state earmarks, but I guess it's by the town percentage, how much is going to be going to each town.
Yeah, all right. Do we normally have enough, get enough money to pay for most of the field trips?
Yes, this year we had $70,000, like 200 or 300, $70,000.
Yeah.
Yep, and we buy a lot of culinary. I just bought a new 6-burner range, a new demo table, some PD for the culinary teacher, lots of engineering equipment. I'm getting some body parts for the health science, like we got a trauma arm and a leg, just so the students can learn how to, prepare the wounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a lot of, so we do spend $70,000.
Yeah.
Annually.
Yeah, that's great.
It is great. It's good. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of catches, though. You can't buy any office supplies, school supplies. I could only buy textbooks if it's a new course or a newly aligned with like an ECE course, like a college level course. If I align with UConn for my CNA, I could buy them new CNA books,
Yeah,
which we're trying to do right now.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's great to have resources like that and take advantage of them.
Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's great, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have questions?
Yeah, I'm curious about the CTE endorsements. So I guess the culinary teachers must have them. I guess what I'm asking is, what is the overlap people currently at Fitch that can teach personal finance according to those codes and have the CTE endorsement so they can get access to the Perkins Fund?
So traditionally, personal finance has been taught by the business ed department,
Yeah.
and those teachers had the 010. It's a business 7 to 12 business ed cert, like I have. So I could have access to these funds. The culinary teacher probably has an 098, which is like a professional industry professional, and then they took I think there's like 3 classes, like a special ed course and 2 other classes that are required.
I think 2 special ed classes.
Is it 2 special ed? Okay.
Okay.
But so usually that's what they have. Like our tech ed has an 047. They have some knowledge of shop and physics, and like
So there's a small overlap.
it's small.
And at Fitch, actually, to see these certifications, I gather we must have the social studies economics.
Yes.
I don't know about the other ones, the
So
045, 089,
Family
104.
consumer science is like the old home ec.
Yeah.
We don't really have. That's kind of like being phased out. We don't have a home ec teacher anymore. I'm a business ed teacher. Marketing education, while I teach 2 marketing classes, I don't have the 089. I could cross-certify to get it, so I probably should. We have plenty of math teachers. The 104, we used to offer the CWE, Cooperative Work Education class, but with our quarterly rotating schedule, students really don't have the opportunity to leave at 12 o'clock every day to go work in industry.
Right.
And get paid and get credit for attending the class. And, you get 1.5 credit. I would place them in a job, they would work, get that experience, get paid, and then they would get credit for the academic side too.
Gotcha.
And for the 104 allows, say, me to place a student in any industry. Right now, because I'm just business certified, I can only place a student in the bank as an internship or a job.
And so I guess maybe if the manufacturing thing goes forward, we could maybe see some 104 certifications. But right now, the 2 pools you have highlighted are the ones that are going to be
Right.
teaching next year. But then, of course, you've got the social studies, economics. That's a big pool as well.
Yep.
And then only the 010 is the business education. That's the only one that can have access to the Perkins, or no?
Actually, so it's
That we have.
the 045, the 010, the 089, and the 104 have access to Perkins.
Oh, right, but among the ones we
Yes,
have.
correct.
Yeah. And so is there any way they can kind of go on the same field trip in a way? Because I'd hate to see kind of create two very different offerings of the same course in terms of experiences.
It gets sticky, but I think maybe if the bus is there and there's some empty seats, I wouldn't say no,
Gotcha.
but I can't say yes.
Interesting. So,
I do combine field trips now. A couple weeks ago, I took my marketing students and we shared a bus with the culinary students, and we went over to Mohegan. They went up to go look at the kitchens, and my students looked at the businesses. We were met by one of the marketing people from Mohegan, and we got a tour of the stores. So I try to maximize expenses wherever I can. Like if I can share a bus,
right.
I do that.
And so when we were talking through the budget, one of the concerns was, do we have enough people to field personal finance? And in one regard, there's quite a large pool of people, but then if they're going to get the same, especially in something like personal finance, where but courses like this, to get the same real world like touchstone experiences, then maybe we don't, because that would only be the business education right now. And if we're already reaching into the math, that says to me we don't have enough people in business education to feel all the offerings.
We haven't
right
come
now.
across the problem yet because obviously I think you said the math person is not going to pick it up until next year. But we do have field trip funds and other funds that we can leverage so that students don't have a vastly different experience. Because I agree, that's really important. We don't want one group of students, having this great opportunity or experience, and then the others not be able to because we can't leverage the Perkins funds. So we would, in that case, I'm sure either Melissa as the department chair or Matt Brown, the principal, would come to me, and I'm sure we would find some funds to make sure that was the same.
But that maybe going ahead in future years, like if we ever were to say add a position, if this is fine, like this would business education, this would be there'd be some cost benefit to that way that might not be at first apparent, but it wasn't to me, of course.
This past year, we hosted an in-school field trip where we invited some area schools to join us. It was a financial reality fair. I've done this in my previous schools. It's put on by the Federal Credit Union, and they'll actually have booths like all around our gym. The student is issued a career, a salary, and a credit score. Based on those 3 data points, they have to go table to table. They have to secure housing. They have to secure transportation. They have to budget for food. They have to say, do I want to go out and have a nightlife? Do I want to have a pet? And so they're actually making a budget based on their credit score and their salary, what's available to them. And it's a fun time. Every student I've ever taught has always come away with this, has had a positive experience from this field trip. So we hosted it in the fall. I think you were there. And then in the springtime, we're going up to Killingly High School. We'll take another batch of students up to Killingly to go do the same thing. It's really it's a fun time. It used to be on paper and pencil. Now it's an app on their phone, which I think the kids like better. But same effect.
I have to say that was such a great experience, even for me, and just kind of following students around and listening in on their conversations. Like one of the students, it was a young man, talked about like, a haircut is this much money? Like, I think I'm going to, he was like trying to frame out when he could get his haircuts. Another student was talking about like the nightlife piece and like, I'm not going to go out, I have to, and they were making choices about their streaming services. Like, I got to cut this one and this one if I want, to have this as a part of my, I forget, it was like entertainment or something. But they were having some great conversations with one another, and it was a real pleasure for me to kind of see them working through those problems with one another. It was really cool.
You realize that life is expensive.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so they can't always afford to live on their own. They'll have to have a roommate or 2 roommates to split that rent. It's an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, I think courses like this are wonderful. I wish they had them when I was in high school.
Yeah.
My only other question is, because it's a relatively standardized curriculum, can students take that online as well, or is that not a thing?
It is a thing. As I was doing some research for this, I saw that you can take it online. I think that's one of the options, or the 40 hours in class. I think those were the only 2. Or because for homeschooled kids could take it online. I know, or if we had someone who was not in school or they're home, I don't know, homebound, they could do it online.
And that's probably offered through some other.
I think it's through the state. There's a link through the Next Gen Personal Finance link that you could sign them up for. But it is standardized, so our new math teachers will have no problems. It's curriculum in a can.
They might be excited about it, so it's good to get dollar signs in front of numbers. It also makes them much more meaningful to a student.
Yeah. I ran some other numbers. Now, I know this is a little stepping away from the personal finance, but overall CTE, year over year from last year, we've seen a 14% increase in attendance or enrollment. So that's good. Our numbers are up 14%. Very proud of what we've done. And our CNA program is thriving. Our EMT program is brand new. We're doing great. Our numbers are full.
Really?
Culinary is always packed because it's food.
Yeah.
But now that after COVID, I opened up the school store, the kids in marketing to run the school store, and I'm running a small business, really. They're running it, but I'm just overseeing it, and they're doing fantastic jobs. We have a vinyl cutter, so they're actually making the product instead of paying a printer to do it, and they're thriving. It's a little chaotic, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So do you, I was talking with someone about this, but do you teach saving in it as well? Like if you may want to buy a house in 5 years or 10 years, you'll have to save this much and how did that, or even retirement or
Yes,
like
so that is touched on in personal finance. Even though you're talking to a 15-year-old, you're like, now is the time to start saving. It's not too late. And thinking about houses and how much they cost, it's, what, $500,000 to buy a house? I don't know. Like in this area, I think it is. But now is when you have to start saving, and maybe you want to put your money into the stocks. Maybe now you should put it into the more aggressive stocks. So we touch on all this in the curriculum.
All right.
And we look at credit card debt, and we make the kids actually calculate how much interest versus principal they're paying. And if they don't pay the principal up, maybe they'll pay twice what the cost of the item was. So these are just very eye-opening experiences for our young kids.
That one in particular is a huge benefit to lots of people to understand
It
the
is.
actual costs of that high rate credit.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else? Well, if you think of something, I'm here.
All right.
At the high school. And please, if you want to come to our classes, anytime.
All right, great.
Culinary first stop.
Yep.
You're gonna get there later in the semester, so they're baking. Tell us when brownie day is.
We're making some good food lately.
That'll make personal finance a little easier.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We
I
really
appreciate
appreciate this.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna run out to my car because I forgot my notes and my phone. So.
Oh, all right, yeah, no problem. We'll take a break for a minute.
Melissa, I did have a question that I just thought of, and that is that are the classes aren't together, like 9th and 10th or 10th?
Yes, they are. All of our CTE classes are mixed grades. I have 9th through 12th in every class of mine. I don't have grade level classes. It would be nice, but I don't.
No, that's.
But it also works to my advantage because I have my seniors mentoring my freshmen, and they learn how to work more collaboratively because, some younger kids don't have the same experiences, so the older kids will share their experiences.
Thank you, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah.
Everyone, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
It was great.
See you tomorrow.
That's our old sign.
Is that not out there anymore?
No. It's all new signage.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the only one I can find online, so.
No, it's brings it back.
That was just last year, though, wasn't it?
Maybe. Yeah, like last year, a little bit before.
Oh, all right. Well, I think I took a picture of it.
Where's the whale?
Excuse me?
Where's the whale?
The whale.
Whale's not there. Irvine.
Oh, yeah, that disappeared a while ago, too.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know the whale.
Artwork.
Oh.
Was here for a while. All right, so math.
Okay, so I'm really pleased to kind of present this math improvement plan. It's something that I've been working on almost from the minute that I walked into the district. Before I was hired, I had to, one of my tasks, and I think Mike and Andrea were both part of this, at one point, I had to create an entry plan. And in order to do that, I had to look at all the data here in Groton and really just study up on what was happening in the district. One of the things that I noticed is that the math scores had been decreasing and have been decreasing for a while, really post-COVID. And so it was in my mind. Once I was hired, this was something that was in my mind. And then a number of people approached me about, some changes that they felt need to be made. So really, I think I started on September 4th, and I want to say that this work preliminarily started even before I was hired. So I'm really pleased to kind of present this information today. This is, one of the things I did was work with the members of the math department to create first a vision statement on what we think math instruction, what's our vision for math instruction, and then also our approach. So you see here that the Groton Public Schools will ensure equitable access to rigorous and dynamic mathematics, so students will make sense of math in creative, interactive, and authentic ways. And our approach will be the following 5 steps. Number 1, or 5 components. Number 1, it's always going to be aligned to standards. If your curriculum is not aligned to standards, then you're probably teaching the wrong things. Number 2, we want to promote active learning when we can. Our curriculum should be very student-centered. It shouldn't be all teachers lecturing at the kids all the time. It should be Number 3, it should encourage real-world connections. That really, I think, helps make math come alive for students. I have to say, as a young person, when I was learning mathematics, I never really understood how I was going to use it later in life. Like, for example, that personal finance class. And I think if teachers made a point to kind of point that out to me, I would be more engaged in math. Now, I did fine in math, but I think I could have done much better because I didn't retain a lot of what I learned. The next component is we want to emphasize conceptual understanding of math concepts. Again, I think that's really important. If you're just memorizing things for a particular unit test and you're not understanding the concept behind it, you don't retain that information. And then finally, and this is a piece that I think that I've been working on, is allowing for K-12 coherence. So there's a synergy between the elementary work, the middle school work, and the high school work. Right now, all 3 grade levels, or bands, I guess you would say, K-5, 6-8, and 9-12, are using different programs, are using different resources, and there's no then coherence. The skill work then doesn't necessarily build one grade level to another. So this is a 5-year plan, and I've created the 5-year plan moving forward. I guess you would say there's 6 components, but I tried to do this. As you probably know, we are applying for a new DODEA grant. The DODEA grant goes until 2030, and it would start next October. But I obviously wanted to record the work that I've been doing already this year with the folks in the math department. And when I say math department, I mean everyone, including at the elementary level. And so here are some things that I've been able to do with the help of, the team. Number 1, we created a district vision and statement for math. We just reviewed that. We introduced the building thinking classrooms approach. That's what BTC stands for. And we have provided support to our teachers through professional development and a book study. We've reviewed materials for illustrative math, which is a program that allows for K-12 coherence. And we've had to select a program distributor. Now, if we decide to go through with this, we will make an official selection. But we did bring in illustrative mathematics, and we brought in 2 different program distributors, that kind of vendors that put out illustrative math programming. We have provided professional development on instructional practices to our elementary coaches and our middle school math teachers. We've trained admin and selected staff to pilot the iReady platform, and iReady allows us to give a diagnostic test and essentially a placement test, tell us where kids are in relation to the standard. It also then, once we get the results, provides teachers with a very specific or personalized intervention plan for each student, or it could be even an enrichment plan, depending upon where the students fall on the diagnostic. And we're applying for the DODEA grant, and that will focus specifically on math instruction, curriculum, and assessment. During the pilot years, that's going to be 2025-26. We are going to pilot the illustrative math curriculum, specifically in grades K through 8. In each grade level, we'll look at 1 to 2 units during next year, and we'll do that based on the dependency diagram that's provided by Illustrative Mathematics. Then, depending upon how the pilot goes, we'll be making adjustments to curriculum and assessment. Of course, before any decisions are made, we would bring the vendor and the program to this board for approval. We're going to resurrect the math task force. We'll be training, providing additional training to teachers, et cetera. And we're going to continue working on the math instruction through the Building Thinking Classrooms approach. In 26-27, that's really our monitoring year. That's where we would provide official implementation training to our staff. If we decided to go with illustrative math, we would implement all of the remaining IM units. We would continue to use our iReady diagnostic, and then we would collect teacher feedback and make adjustments to curriculum and assessments based as needed in the summertime. Our last 3 years are refine, improve, and evaluate. You see here, we continue to support our approach and Building Thinking Classrooms, which really prioritizes discourse and problem solving. We would train our teachers in leveraging student-centered instruction. We would host math family nights to help build an understanding of our instructional approach, and we would refine our math curriculum and pacing guide grades K through 8. In terms of improvement, we would explore cross-curricular connections. We would use multi-year iReady data to inform instructional decisions. We would develop teacher leaders so that other teachers that are beginning this work would be able to go in and see models of instruction. And we would conduct math walkthroughs at all K-8 schools and provide written feedback. And then finally, in our evaluation year, 2029, 2030, we would establish model classrooms for peer observations. We would ensure ongoing professional development and coaching support for new teachers or those teachers that are struggling with the approach. We would make adjustments to curriculum and assessment as needed, and we would evaluate the effectiveness of this improvement plan in increasing student performance. Now, that's something obviously we would do every year, but whenever you implement a new program or a new curriculum, they say it takes 3 to 5 years to see a large impact. I want to talk to you a little bit, if you don't mind, about...
Would you
yeah.
questions before we...
Oh, sure.
get too far?
Go ahead.
Do you have any, or Mike or Andrea?
I could probably wait if it's okay, but
I was just going to ask on the curriculum
Sure.
choices, why did we choose to go with illustrative math versus some of the other options?
We brought in a couple of different options, but illustrative math was one that is one that's kind of like favored by the State Department of Education. It's the mathematics program that they use for their model curricula. It's something that I'm familiar with from my previous district, and it's something that a lot of school districts are using now.
All right. One of the things, with choosing the curriculum is the teacher buy-in.
Yes.
That the teachers actually want have seen and want the curriculum.
Yes.
So my question was, for next year, it looks like we'll be piloting
1 to 2 units.
Is there any benefit to piloting a different program?
Yes, but I would want to pilot this one first, and if we decide after piloting this that it's not something our teachers are interested in, then we would bring in another program to look at. We did also look at iReady, because iReady also has a curriculum in addition to its diagnostic. So we did look at two different curricula. I mean, I think it's really important to look at, of course, what the State Department of Ed is advocating for, what comes up as highly rated on something called Ed Reports, and both of those criteria are, and then also, something that you have to talk to other school districts and see what's working for them. We've talked to a number of school districts that are having success with illustrative math. So there was a lot of thought that was put into it, but at this point, we haven't decided 100% we're going with illustrative math. We just decided we want to pilot illustrative math, and so we'll be doing that next year, just 1 to 2 units.
All right.
It's the full year you're going to pilot.
No, we'll just pilot 1 to 2 units, and it will be in the spring after Smarter Balance testing.
I see.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the iReady as well. So we're just, the plan with iReady is to just use them for evaluation?
Right now, we're going to use it, well, students will test 3 times a year. It will provide us with information on, exactly where those students are in relation to each of the mathematics standards, and then it will create a personalized learning plan for students that, need remediation, as well as students that need to accelerate their learning.
All right.
It also creates a specific lessons, so the students can do that online, kind of similar to Dreambox, but much higher level. And it will provide teachers with also specific lesson plans, like, say, for example, they notice a pattern or a trend in a class. It will actually create lesson plans for teachers to help those students.
All right.
It does a lot of cool things, actually.
Yeah. Speaking of Dreambox, are we phasing that out?
So if we decide, right now we're piloting iReady, if we decide at the end of this year that iReady is better, or, if the teachers like it more, and the initial thoughts are, the initial feedback is that teachers do like it more, we will eliminate Dreambox.
All right.
Yeah, I'm looking really to streamline and to make things, I think, improve things for teachers and make things easier. So I wouldn't put iReady on top of Dreambox. They essentially do the same thing. I just think that iReady is a much better product.
All right.
Is there a cost difference?
There is a cost difference, but we're getting more for illustrative math than we're getting for iReady than we're getting for Dreambox. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so you mean that by the end of this year, like this school year?
By the end
is
of this
piloting.
school year.
So the iReady piloting is like a year ahead of the illustrative
Yes.
math piloting.
Yes, because when I spoke with teachers, they felt like that was the more immediate need. We have a curriculum, we don't have a diagnostic assessment for students, and we don't have a personalized learning a platform for them. Dreambox does not have an assessment component. It was doing a little bit of the personalized learning, but I will tell you the initial feedback from the teachers are Dreambox would say, for example, a student was at a high level of mathematics or maybe at the goal level, and iReady is showing that these students are maybe just at goal, like those high-level students are just at goal, which tells me that some of our instruction is not at the grade level standard.
Right. So with Dreambox, some complaints I've heard is that while there might be activities at a certain level, it's not always built in to first have a lesson about the content in that activity.
Right.
It just kind of goes through that. Is that something that iReady has?
Yeah, so
Dreambox
iReady
doesn't?
will provide lessons for teachers to deliver to students, if that's how they choose to, deliver that.
Oh, but as the students are progressing, so sometimes, like Dreambox, the model seemed to be, as my kids were going through, that you're expected a set number of
Lessons or whatever it
minutes
is,
a week
minutes.
or something, or different ways of counting it. And some of it was in class, some of it wasn't. But they get to a point, it's like, I don't know how to do this. It says I'm at this level, but it's not like, because everyone's at a different level, it's not like in the classroom the teacher is able to come back and
Right.
give a tailored lesson for that. It's just like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, no, this, iReady, sometimes I'm getting mixed up between them. iReady would provide personalized lessons so that the teacher could assist those students that maybe, students are at this level. Teachers normally used to teaching fourth grade, but you have a student in your class that maybe is working at the 7th or 8th grade level. It would provide teachers with lessons, to support those students.
But the students wouldn't have that on their own to some
It might give
extent.
them some guidance, but I don't think it would do like a full lesson.
Yeah.
The other thing that I like about iReady and that the teachers have liked is that they say that Dreambox is kind of like for younger kids, more geared toward younger kids. And when you get to the middle school level, the kids are like, I'm over this, like little, I don't know what they create,
Robots,
little
those
icons.
mirrors and lasers.
Yeah. And iReady is really built more to be, it has a younger kid version, but it also has one for older kids, so that older kids are like, why am I on this like baby platform? Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about a potential new resource, and this is illustrative math, and I'm glad, Adrian, that you asked me about this. Illustrative math, one of the reasons why we like it is because it focuses on a problem-based approach to teaching and learning using real-world concepts, and so that students see the relevance in mathematics. And again, as a former English teacher, I think that would have been so important to me as a youngster. Maybe I would have taught math someday. It really aims to foster deep understanding and mathematical reasoning through engaging activities and real-world connections. It utilizes specific instructional routines, which I'll share with you in a minute, that promote interaction, collaboration, and student thinking. It encourages students to collaborate by discussing and sharing their strategies with peers. It's designed to be coherent across grade levels and rigorous, making sure that students are prepared for future mathematics learning, and includes digital and print resources for our teachers and our students. So what's a typical illustrative math lesson structure? A typical structure will look like this. There's an invitation to learning. That's really when our teachers review the goal for the day. There's a warm-up, and that kind of provides entry into learning for the students. There are 1 to 3 instructional activities, depending upon the length of the class period and also the length of the expected completion time of the activities. There's a lesson synthesis that guides the students through the big picture understanding. And then there's a cool-down task. So there's a formula. Not every lesson is going to look exactly like this, but there's a very specific formula for teachers to follow so that we know that when they're delivering mathematics skills and content to our students, it's going to follow this model. I want to also talk about building thinking classrooms. Now, building thinking classrooms works very well with illustrative math. It was developed by a mathematics professor named Peter Lilienthal, who based this work on 15 years of classroom research. It emphasizes the importance of doing the math rather than being told what to do. And I'm in the middle of reading this book. I'm actually toward the end. But the biggest piece that this professor argues is that students learn math by actually, persevering, struggling with a problem, not by just like with teacher on the board. I know when I was learning mathematics in high school and elementary and middle school, the teacher would go to the board, show us how to do something, and then we would get practice problems. And that's not how this model works. And then finally, it uses 14 instructional practices that promote student thinking, collaboration, and perseverance. And specifically, here are some examples. It talks about the types of tasks teachers should use in their classroom, where and when tasks are given, how groups are formed, where students should work, how to address student questions, and how to use formative assessment. Now, that's not all 14, but those are ones specifically that I listed because I thought they were really interesting.
So what types of tasks would they be?
So there are 2 types of tasks in building thinking classrooms. They're called non-curricular tasks, those are ones that essentially are questions that they feel like, almost like word problems, that they feel like anyone in the class should be able to do, but they're going to need each other to kind of work through the problem. And that's not related directly to the curriculum that they're learning. And then there's curriculum tasks that are essentially also problem-based learning situations, but are more tied to what they're learning at that time.
What would a task be?
It would depend on the grade level, all kinds of things. I can come back and show you several examples, but off the top of my head, it's really hard for me to think of an exact one. There's a lot of nuances within it. Actually, I can show you, and here's a short video that kind of shows you a little bit about building thinking classrooms. I'll just show you a couple seconds of it.
The thinking classrooms just basically bring the kids together in a collaborative environment.
I'm sorry. Let me. I'm going to hold off on showing.
You could send it to me.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm going to hold off on showing you that video, but I think you all have access to the Google Slides. If not, I will share it with you. I was going to show you that approach, but I think it's really hard to hear, when we're presenting this way. So I'm happy to show it to you later or send you that video. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it might be that if you mute your mic, you
Yes.
still might be able to play
You
the
think so?
video. Yeah.
I don't know if the speakers are set up over there.
I think it might be okay. Because I think your mic is on right now.
It's green.
Oh, sorry, not this mic, the one on your computer.
Yeah, it's not on. It says mute.
Interesting.
Oh, you're not in Zoom anymore, right? You're in a web browser? Oh, the link brings you to a web browser versus Zoom, which is beyond my,
She won't be able to do it
Okay.
all right.
There we go.
without the feedback.
You can make it green again.
Okay.
All right.
I got to get out of this.
We'll anxiously await until we get home.
Yes. But it's definitely something that you want to check out.
And there's no curriculum associated with this, or is this?
No, it's really just an instructional approach, but it's one that really works well with the illustrative math curriculum. Because it's problem-based, just like that one is problem-based. This really promotes kids up and talking to one another. It advocates for using real-world problems. All of those things work exactly in cooperation with illustrative math.
That how groups are formed, if there's real help on that would be good, because I know that's often a stress point for many students, and actually the dynamic in the classroom changes with that as well.
It gives a lot of recommendations about how teachers should do specific things and how to really make sure that your students stay engaged throughout the class period, which is a big part of learning, right? Is that if you're not engaged in what you're doing, you're not paying attention, then you're not learning the material. Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about.
Gary, your mic is off.
Oh, thank you,
Sorry, that's
thank you,
better than me.
thank you. I want to talk to you a little about another potential new resource, which is iReady. iReady is something that we have teachers piloting right now. There are two components to the iReady that we are piloting. They do also have a curriculum component. That's not something that we're piloting right now. So first, it has an assessment piece. Again, this assesses students using adaptive technology, similar to the Smarter Balanced assessment. It's administered 3 times a year. It identifies what students can do based on grade level expectations, and it's proven to be a valid and reliable predictor of Smarter Balanced performance. And I can say with confidence that I worked in a district in which we were able to use this diagnostic to predict pretty accurately how students were going to perform on Smarter Balanced. I have a spouse that works for West Hartford Public Schools, and they use this exclusively as a predictive model for how their students will perform on Smarter Balanced. So I have some experience with iReady directly and kind of indirectly. In terms of the personalized instructional tool, It uses the assessment data to identify individual student needs, and it creates a pathway of digital lessons for each student. It provides teachers with specific lesson resources based on the student needs, and it monitors students as they progress toward grade level work. So iReady is kind of giving us two components here. And so I just wanted to kind of conclude by coming back to this math vision statement and our 5 components of what we want in our approach to math instruction, and just kind of revisit this and say, I hope that you're noticing that as I put together this 5-year improvement plan, that our work is going to be aligned to standards, it's going to promote active learning, encourage real-world connections, emphasize conceptual understanding of math, and allow for K-12 coherence. And I will take any additional questions.
Yeah, I've got some. Do we currently have a math coordinator? I think not, or is that the one remaining?
We have a part-time math coordinator at the high school level.
Well, high school, middle school, right?
High school and middle school, yes.
Okay. And so with this,
Actually, she does STEM, so she's supposed to also oversee science at the same time. But she's only working 2.5 days a week.
yeah. And so if this goes through, I guess that make you basically the de facto coordinator.
I'm the de facto coordinator now.
Yeah. But that underscores need. You'd have to go from K all the way up. I guess for this grant, it would be K through 8 at least.
Yeah.
So you need at least that bridging coordinator function. Maybe not like in the first several years, but like to carry this forward, to sustain it.
Yes, we thought about putting a K-5 coordinator into the grant, but it ate up a lot of salary because, the grant is usually $1.25 million over 5 years. But if you put a full-time administrator role or a coordinator role in there with a high salary, it takes up a lot of the money. So one of the things Superintendent Austin thought was instead to provide a stipend that someone could apply for and kind of serve as a math leader at the K-5 level. That would be very helpful for me, for sure.
Got it. Oh, so that was actually a relay question. So I know some of the other, I think it's the other DODIA grants have a coordinator or something, or administrator.
Yes, so
hired.
I believe in one of the grants, Ben Moon is in currently, and one of the grants, maybe our literacy person is in right now. I believe. Now, don't quote me on that because I'm new to the district and I'm still learning some of the grants, especially some of the older DODIA grants. But I believe that's the case.
Would this grant have something like this, a position like that?
We wanted to put that in, but we noticed it was taking a lot of that salary was taking away from a lot of the funding, if that makes sense.
And this is DODIA, to be clear, that's the DOD, right? It's the Department of Defense.
Yes.
But it goes through the Department of Education.
Yes.
Which we'll see what happens there.
Yes.
But do you know I've viewed the Department of Education for these as sort of a pass-through for the money, but they might be the ones deciding on this. Do you know if it's the DOD side that's
I don't know.
reviewing it? It might be the Department of Education. So will it still exist? or when would we find out, I guess?
I don't know. I think from what I remember from this year when I started, we were notified sometime right after I started, so early September, about the grant, about being awarded the grant funds. So I'm expecting sometime I think they were expecting sometime in the summer to early September this past year. So I would imagine right around the same time.
Wow, so that's a long time between now and then, and things that could happen.
One of the things I am going to be able to do, because I've been obviously looking into this for a long time, long time, I guess 6 months, is that if we decide to replace Dreambox, I will be able to still purchase iReady, move forward with iReady, if that's what our teachers want, using the funds, most of the funds from Dreambox. I will have to supplement a little bit, but I've been able to utilize other grant funds, to do that.
Got it. So one question I had, just in general, so the personal finance is a great, the high school level is a great example of, using math in something that would matter for life skills, right? And oftentimes, as you said, like the lack of real-world examples, math has been taught sometimes very abstract ways, like how many apples do I really need in that cart, things like that. But are the two trains coming together? But one thing I've noticed, certainly elementary level, math hasn't been incorporated much in terms of science instruction. And I am a scientist, and for me, that was like one way. It's like, okay, this really matters now. I need to learn this math to understand this science. Is there any thought towards bridging the math more into the science?
For sure. I mean, if you see as a part of the plan, we're looking at, not right away, it would have to take a couple of years, but for the, at co-curricular kind of connections. But I think the other thing is, in the next generation science standards, there is some math in terms of like, I'm trying to think of examples off the top of my head, but there is some mathematics. It gets, of course, more involved as the students get beyond elementary school and into middle and high school.
Definitely high school.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, definitely high school. And so that's something that, if it's in alignment to the standards, and in which case, that we have to teach, that's where it's incorporated. But I do feel like eventually when our teachers get a hold on this new approach and any of our new resources, we will be able to make those cross-curricular connections, because I do think it's really important.
Yeah, and it actually is a little easier at the K through 5 level, because the same teacher that's teaching math is teaching the science lessons, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Instead of having subject-based teachers. And then this is partially self-serving as a scientist. I'd love to see science brought more into the math classes. I do think there's time for that, like in terms of the examples, and so some of the wording seems like it allows for that.
Yeah. I think it's so important for kids. I mean, my master's degree, I had to write a thesis and do an action project, and it was all about interdisciplinary connections. So I'm a big advocate for that. I think kids learn better when they're able to make connections between one class and the next, rather than seeing things as disparate parts. So yes, when we can make connections to other classes, especially in an elementary classroom, I came from the secondary world, but I was able to collaborate very easily with my colleagues in the other departments. I think when you have an elementary school teacher who is teaching math and science and ELA, it's very easy for them to make those connections. We just have to build in time for them to kind of prepare that material so that, they can do it.
Yeah, so, I mean, as a science person, I'd just love to, when someone does a math problem, at the end, they're units. And I do see that, actually, I did see that in the elementary curriculum, that when there were sort of what we'd call word problems, in my vintage, it's called something else now, that they do actually have to write in what is this, people, or dollars, or things like that.
Yeah. And there's so much reading now required in math and in science, and so, those are very easy interdisciplinary connections. I mean, there's just, kids are really required to do a lot more now, and it's a good thing, right? We want them to learn and to come out so much more prepared, but we have to work with our teachers and support them in getting our kids there.
Right. So, like, take a random elementary school grade, third grade or second grade, how much different do you envision the math lessons being with something like this implemented versus what they are now?
I think a good amount, and forgive me because I'm still learning, about what students are required to do now as a part of the existing curriculum. But, I do foresee, based on my initial impressions and some of the feedback that I've received from our teachers, that we need to make a change, and that they are welcoming a change like this.
Right. My last question just came up. I think at the high school level, when we're talking about English language offerings, they said, well, the curriculum, last time we updated it was such and such a year. Is there similar date tracking for like the elementary school level and the middle school level?
So I'm really lucky that even though there's been some turnover in my position, one of our executive assistants here has a document that has logged every time there's been a revision to any curriculum that we have in this district, K-12. And so I have that information, and, I'm in communication, obviously, with I think they call them department chairs or department heads at the high school right now, actually, as we speak, about developing a plan so that any curriculum that, say, for example, there's a new course and it hasn't been written, making sure that there's a plan for writing those courses, or if there's a revision or an update that needs to be made. In fact, I put out a Google form just to kind of get an initial sense of what needs to be updated at the high school or what curriculums don't exist for whatever reason, and I got quite an extensive list. So I'll be meeting with them tomorrow just so that we can prioritize, but yeah, all of that information exists.
And so it seems like some of it might be ripe for revitalization
Yes.
or renewal.
Absolutely.
Or reimagination, I guess. in
Yeah,
terms of that.
and you can't do everything at once, of course.
Yeah.
And I want to be really intentional about what I do and when I do that, so that there's a plan. It's not just like, let's do grade 5 science and grade 11 CTE, and it's got to be. I really want, I keep using the word coherence, but I think it's so important that when kids come through our school system, they come to us as maybe pre-K or K, and there are knowledge and skills that build every single year through a specific subject level for subject. Subjects specifically. So talking about math and saying, okay, we're going to go with X program. I'll use illustrative just as the example now, but I could use iReady or another program, and it will help the students build those foundational school skills in the youngest grade levels, then prepare them for middle school. Our middle school teachers will be using the same resource so that they know what the kids are expected to know and be able to do by the time they get to that middle school level. It's really important to me that there's that consistency. Right now, it doesn't make sense to me that our K-5 kids are using a different program than our 6-8
Right.
students. It doesn't help with the transition. It doesn't help with making sure that all the skills are covered. So there's a lot, I think, that's missing there.
Got it. Thank you. The one other thing, that iReady 3 times a year sounds like a lot. I understand the rationale, beginning, middle, and end. I would assume this isn't days of testing.
No.
Would it be like 20 minutes each time? Or
I
like
think
half,
it's
or depending?
it's like an untimed test, but they approximate 45 minutes.
Got it. So it's not even a whole, it's not like taking the PSATs or
No.
taking the SBAC, so
Yeah.
it's a much smaller chunk.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
And our teachers, I was even concerned about rolling it out this time of year. I brought in the iReady people to kind of just show the presentation, and I wasn't planning on piloting this year, but our teachers were so excited about it. They wanted to pilot, and I thought, well, you're not going to give an assessment. No, we want to give the assessment. So they were very excited about having that information.
Was there any other, for the assessment, was there any other, look at anything other than iReady?
No.
All right. Are there other options out there?
There are probably other options, but I'd have to do additional research. I did put it out to all of the math teachers, however, at the elementary, middle, and high school level. If there is, again, I always preface this by saying I'm an English teacher. So if you know of a resource that's better, then bring it to me, and we'll bring them in. No one brought me any other options. I don't know if it's that because they weren't aware of them or because they wanted to try iReady first. But I am open-minded to other assessments if they find ones that they like and we decide we don't like iReady. Right now, the initial feedback is that they like it.
All right. Great. I had talked to somebody that taught iReady, but they taught the curriculum.
So that's different, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I did a little bit of research on illustrative math, and it does great on EdSite. Curate, printed it all, and it's at home as usual. But Curate said classroom accessibility was the only thing that it scored, not low, but just a little bit below the best score. So I don't really know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
All right.
I'm not familiar with Curate. I rely strictly on Ed Reports. I feel like that is the best resource, but I can check out Curate and try to figure out what that means.
Yeah, it's just, it's similar to Ed Reports. They have some different things. So I know with Ed Reports, they had some controversy with reading or something like that last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
It could be related to the science of reading stuff. I'm not sure. I don't know.
yeah, well, in specific programs, there was some methodology irregularities, I guess I would say, or something like that, Ed site. So they paused some things, I believe, for a little while. But anyway, I think overall it's great,
Yeah.
that they're actually doing that. So, and then going back to the other program, illustrative math. So it looks like, was it Curriculum Associates? Oh, that's iReady. It's Kendall.
So there
those,
are three. I'm sorry. I think there are 6 approved distributors of illustrative math. I brought in 3. Maybe there are 3 and I brought in 3. But there are only a certain number of distributors that are approved to, or vendors that are approved to distribute illustrative math materials. And I brought in Kendall Hunt, I brought in Imagine Learning, and then there's a third one called Kidam. And I'll tell you the thinking behind that. Kendall Hunt is mostly print materials. Kidam is almost exclusively digital materials. And Imagine Learning has both. And so the teachers decided, those people that were kind of a part of the looking at the groups that came in, I brought in principals, elementary math coaches, a few teachers, a small handful of teachers, because the presentations, of course, were given during the day, and I didn't want to pull teachers out of the classroom, and the middle school math coaches. And when they saw all the presentations, and they were the ones that decided they liked the mixture of having access to print and digital materials.
All right. So, so I guess the process will be later in the year, next year, we'll hear how the pilots went.
Yes, and I would then bring the materials here for approval.
All right. And then, so in an ideal world, we would be starting with this a little over a year from now.
Yes.
It'll in the fall of 27.
And the nice thing then is the later units, say for example, I'm a 4th grader, my teacher will pilot the later units in illustrative math, and then if all goes well, when I enter into 5th grade, I start with the 5th grade illustrative math units. And so that will build on, those end to the beginning of the year. It will be a nice transition or flow.
All right. How many classes are going to be piloting? Are we going to pilot in every grade?
We are going to pilot in every grade level, so I thought that through a lot, and I asked a lot of questions about that with the elementary math specialists, with the principals, and with the middle school math specialists, or I guess you'd call them curriculum specialists. And I actually have had, this is like probably the 5th iteration of this math improvement plan. As a part of the other versions, we looked at maybe having just certain grade levels pilot, but we felt like ultimately it would be best that all teachers had the experience and could contribute feedback to what they liked and what they didn't like about the new program.
All right. So so it'll be one classroom in each school?
No, it'll be all classrooms, every grade level, 1 to 2 units.
Oh, so all the teachers are going to pilot it?
Yes.
For a couple of months?
K through 8, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And we'll provide them with training, of course, and make sure that the units are tight so they know exactly what they're teaching. There won't be any questions. And then the elementary math specialists will be there to support them, especially any teacher that feels like, I'm not that confident about this, or I'm still not sure about how I'm going to approach this. The specialist will push into the classrooms and help.
All right. All right. Well, after we get through that part, I would be very interested in reading some teacher feedback, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be tons of it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm sure there's going to be, hopefully, a lot more like it than don't like it, but
Yeah.
there's clearly going to be people on both sides that have been doing
Absolutely.
things that seem to work well for them, and then they switch and things like that.
Yeah, and you can expect that. And one of the reasons why we are piloting this slowly is, number one, we want to make sure that teachers feel prepared and confident, and there is some training that goes along with illustrative math. It's a shift in the approach from what we're doing. But I think the other piece of it is being really conscious at the elementary level that they are also right now in the middle of year one of working through Wit and Wisdom, the new literacy program. And so, I was really adamant in working, with the teachers and communicating with the teachers union already about I don't want to pile on another thing. I think next year in year 2, it's going to be really important for our teachers at the elementary level especially to become more confident in what they're delivering, through Wit and Wisdom. And so that's why another reason why we're waiting kind of till the end of the year. The teachers will get through most of the second year of the literacy program before they even pick this up. And hopefully then it won't be, it will be a burden, but it won't be too overwhelming for them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a lot of change.
Yeah, so it would be a lot of change. They'll run me right out of here. So, I got to be careful about that stuff.
Yeah, that's my questions. Does anyone else have any? All right.
All right, well, thank you for your time with this.
Thank you. I'm very excited. And when I started looking into some of the curriculum that we had, I became more excited about making this switch. So I appreciate that. All right. Referral tracking sheet. So we added a couple last month, and then I was told we can't do it, and now now I know there's a whole bunch of discussion in the regular meeting about it, and I don't know if we ever got to an answer of if we can add an agenda item for curriculum in curriculum.
I think we can't, but we could bring it to the full board, and then supposedly we should vote on it, but it just seemed to get added. But I can't remember in that meeting when we talked about it if our specific ones got added or not.
Yeah.
Like, I know this list hasn't been updated probably since that meeting. But do you remember what ones we added? I was trying to...
I think we got rid of writing, the 6 to 12, and then we narrowed in writing, adding a new one for, what was it, 7th and 8th grade? Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought we talked about getting an update on the implementation of the elementary literacy curriculum.
Oh, that too.
That one, but
yeah.
that one might be the whole board.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just because I feel like a lot of people are going to be interested in that one. So it's something we'd probably have to talk to Bev about.
Was it 7 and 8, or was it 7 through 12?
So it was originally 6 through 12.
Right.
And then, didn't we talk about, and I apologize, I should have brought my notes from last month, but didn't we talk about just adding an agenda item to talk about the 7th and 8th curriculum, writing curriculum?
With the idea that we did the
That we covered.
9 through 12.
Yeah.
That was, the middle school was part of that presentation.
But you still want to talk about writing.
I think that Dr. Ackerman and I met one-on-one to clarify some questions.
All right, so we don't, well, it's not on there now, so we can leave it off, and then we can add it if.
So
So the 6 through 12 is not on there. Is that correct?
Well, we have to take it off as a board, apparently.
but we can at least say it's completed, right?
I don't think we should take it off. Maybe I'm crazy.
But it's completed, right? Or no? Like March 3rd?
Well, we had talked about the way we were doing it was if we finish something, we'll put a line through it and then write the date that it was finished.
Yeah. So that one's good. We did financial literacy right in the middle today.
Yeah.
I think this counts as that last one, review of the math curriculum. It's actually a little better than a review of the math curriculum. The last one we've got down there from Bev is review of the math curriculum.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't exactly a
We
review.
didn't- Yeah, I mean, unless she had an idea of high school, but we can do, we basically did K to 8 math curriculum, right?
So maybe we leave that on a
To
bit.
go back a little bit, if students are advanced in math, because like once they get to middle school, they can start taking, algebra, and they would leave that illustrative math model and kind of go into the curriculum that we already have for.
There is an illustrative math model that goes all the way to grade 12, grade 11, sorry. And that's something that we're going to continue to explore, I think, as we implement, if we decide to implement at the younger grade levels, then as students get older, we would then look to possibly implement the high school related courses. But it does have it does have advanced courses at the middle school level for those students that are, like, for example, if they are at the point where they can take Algebra 1 or a geometry class, it does have those options.
All right, so would we do that, or would we just use the curriculum that we already have
Yeah,
for algebra?
so our math coordinator is looking at that to see, would we want to offer the illustrative math version of Algebra 1, for example, at the 8th grade level, or would we want to continue to offer our existing curriculum?
All right, so something we're still looking at. I didn't mean to run too far backwards in the meeting, but.
So let me go back to the English or the language arts curriculum. So that presentation that we had from Amy and
Jamal.
Sure, thank you. That's the review.
It doesn't have to be. I think I would need to know more about what exactly you wanted to see. If you wanted to see the literacy component, but they did, talk about all of the units. They talked about what was required for writing during those, what was incorporated for grammar and vocabulary. The only real missing piece I saw was reading, but reading wasn't asked for, so we,
Another area.
yeah.
No, I'm not satisfied with what's going on in terms of the approach, the actual delivery of grammar and writing. I'm not happy with that. So, there you have it. So, you're going to review it, that document I gave you with the
Yes.
individual, and I don't know if you had the opportunity to do that.
Not yet, no.
Okay. Well, maybe the three of us can look at it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we'll just leave this on there for now as a tracker that is really a tracker for 7th and 8th grade. Is that when that?
Well, yeah, I guess it would be. Would it be 7th and 8th grade that we're really looking at? Because I really don't know anymore what I'm really not deep into what I think should be done in high school. So, and I don't know how what happens in 7th and 8th grade gets transferred to the high school. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like-
Yeah, so this is where, I think that accurately the individuals that were here presenting talked about the impact of the loss of those coordinators, because we don't have someone that's overseeing that transition between the work that's happening in between the middle school and the high school. That's really a kind of a lost opportunity right now. And again, I'm going to remind everyone, I've been here 6 months and working almost exclusively on math. Certainly ELA is my area, I would say my wheelhouse. I have not had the opportunity to really dig into that area yet.
Right. Well.
On the coordinators, I don't think they actually got cut because of the ARPESR money. I think they actually just got cut as part of the trying to get the number down last year. So when I went back and looked at all the ARPESR associated jobs, those were cuts that we made as a district that they were an addition last year, which I never thought, I don't think that really got parsed out in the meetings, that those were separate positions that were eliminated, that the district just lost. So if those are necessary positions, that's something that I would love to see come up again. It seems like they're missed. So
we'll make it 7 and 8.
all right.
No, but we can't do that unless it's at a full board.
We'll just leave it as it is until,
Right, okay.
and then, I had one that I think Bev said she would like to have us, software, discussion on the software survey, basically software offerings. I think she had mentioned that she would rather that one come to curriculum. Are you guys interested in hearing about?
Is that a cow one?
It is on the COW, but last month when we went over them, Bev said, well, you can do that one in curriculum. That's how it was put.
Which one is that?
It's the fifth up from the bottom, 29. It's dash 29.
Oh, talking about this software survey.
Yeah. So discuss, which I guess it kind of is curriculum. Are you guys interested in hearing about that?
I don't even know what it means.
Well, some of the software, like we were just talking about the math software, but there's also Lexia. There's tons of them. Right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You,
Okay.
you saw that survey, right?
I just saw the results. I didn't see the actual questions.
Oh, all right. Which would it was the survey specifically, but maybe just a review of the software that we're the instructional software that we're offering in general.
Okay.
And I know at the last meeting I suggested something to add to our curriculum, and I've been trying to think through it. I can't remember what it is, so I'd have to go back and try and find it. But
Or 7. All right. So if that's it, if we don't really have any changes as of now, future meeting topics.
yeah, that was my question. So basically, we have probably one meeting before the end of the school year. Is there anything among these that really need like the teachers to come in, right? Those topics
Yeah.
I would shuffle to the front, or administrators at some level too. But I mean, in some sense, I see that review of program of studies to be important, but I think the timing of it unlikely to have an impact for next school year if we
Yeah, 'cause
went through it. So
Everything together already.
it'd almost be like the worst time to have it.
Yeah.
Because whatever we go over will long since
We'll forget
be
about it by
forgotten.
the time February comes.
So that one doesn't. It seems like that it's not only not urgent, it wouldn't be helpful to have it. Financial literacy was very important to have, and I'm glad we got that.
Yeah. Well, we can, if there are any ideas, I guess we can add them at the next COW when we talk about the tracking sheet.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, but which one of these would we pick? Like if we're picking
well, we
one,
don't have to even pick one of these. I can't remember what yours was.
I don't know.
Again, I have it written down at home.
It seems
With my
demoralizing
other
not
stuff.
to. It seems demoralizing not to pick one. At least have one of those on.
Well, we can, we have time to figure that out.
Okay.
For now. I guess Anne Marie can think about that and And,
On your way up.
Yeah, I would just encourage you, if you have something that comes up sooner than later so that I can prepare, or if I have to bring a teacher in. I do have the elementary literacy specialist prepared to make a presentation. I misunderstood and thought it was going to be to this group, but I'm happy to have her wait and go to, I don't know if it would be a COW or just a general board meeting. But I had misunderstood, and she's ready to go for May.
all right, well, let's, I think that we did talk about that, and then I believe maybe I was talking with another board member who wanted to, so I will talk to Bev,
Okay.
and it'll be one way or the other. We'll leave
Yeah.
it as that.
Yeah.
So if Bev doesn't have a plan of putting it on the agenda this month or early next month, we'll do it in curriculum, and then if we have to do it twice, we'll do it twice.
Yeah, and just, again, I would remind you that, we're going to lose at least a week because of April break, so anything that I would need to prepare, I just would ask that, you can kind of consider that.
All right. All right, so the tentative one would be the ELA, K-5 reading and writing. So yeah, I will, I think I'll call Bev tomorrow.
Okay.
And try to find that out soon.
And this one almost, like, we've got on there the discussion, read the study of IB, International Baccalaureate. Certainly we've covered some of that already, but almost like as a update or half agenda item, it'd be, so it's been mentioned, okay, we've got all these courses on the books, but some of them aren't being actively taught. At some point, I'd like to kind of just have a real feel for, like, what are our courses that we're fielding every year for IB versus the many that are on the program of studies. And then kind of along with that, and then that could grow into a full agenda item. Like, what do we really, like, what do we absolutely need to have the diploma?
I
That'd be a
think
bigger topic at
that might be a
point. discussion
of the larger program of studies,
Yeah.
because from everything that, my initial work with the high school is that it's not just IB, it's all kinds of courses are still on the program of studies, and some of them might not have been offered for a number of years. So that's something that I think the high school is working to clean up, but that exists outside of IB as well.
Yeah, for sure. Not to get too far into it, but in my system we have another status for a course. They get archived, so that they're still there, still
Sure.
approved in the curriculum. They just don't show up as front facing to the students.
Yes.
And cause that confusion, and they can be brought back up if need be, rather than having to go through a new curriculum approval process.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we definitely accumulate courses over time.
Yeah.
We approved a great many courses that, I don't know which ones are being taught anymore. I'd like to know that. Which ones are there? And some of the ones that I thought were.
Yeah, so again, I think that goes along with the program of studies, in which, and some of that is highly dependent upon course selection. And so I know that and then scheduling. So I know that they're very actively, at the middle school and high school levels, scheduling right now. I don't know if they've come up, with the final schedule. I don't believe so. It's a lengthy process.
Yeah, is there when a course disappears, or when we're going to stop offering it officially, is the board notified? Do you know?
I don't know.
No, that's what, that from whence my question arose.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, my impression, and I could be wrong, is that there are never courses that just are not going to be offered anymore. Everything kind of seems to be as an option, even if it's not really an option. Like, what the feedback I was given is that students sometimes get frustrated because maybe they'll select a course, and that's not a course that's run in a number of years, maybe 5 years. And so it's not officially off the books. It's not a course that's run, and then not a lot of kids take it because maybe they haven't heard their siblings take it or for their friends take it. And so, it might only get 2 or 3 course requests, and then, of course, it's not run, and then kids are put in a course that they don't want. So,
Why is it even on there?
And they
Right.
balance their schedule around those courses often, like, oh, I'm taking this, I want this, so I shouldn't take this, or vice versa.
yeah, so it's something that, I have to work with on the high school some more, and, we'll get there.
And
Hopefully
it's
sooner than later.
streamlining, but it's actually, it's more reflective of what's happening.
What's happening.
And that's helpful to everybody.
Now, in fairness, the high school team, because I asked them about this, they told me that every department coordinator has an opportunity every year to go through and take off out of the program of studies as an option for students, like, okay, this course hasn't run in 5 years, take it off. But I think they're hesitant to do that in case, so, again, it's something that we have to work through.
Maybe the, what'd you call it, archiving?
Yeah, just
Archive,
archiving.
yes.
Maybe that's a good option.
Yeah.
Or,
That happens at a higher level, because if they see it hasn't been offered in several years, it gets archived. And that just,
I like that term, though.
yeah.
that's good.
It's better than ghosted.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
All right. All right, so is there any more discussion?
For me,
All right,
motion to adjourn.
Second,
all right, we're done.
I was Jen.